Welcome everyone to this virtual event sponsored by the National Security Language Initiative for Youth interactive website. We're so excited to have you all participating in this event today. These classroom events are really special in that we can all connect with each other and learn from each other from around the world. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we're really looking forward to the event. Before I give a brief overview of what will happen, I see several of you have been able to join on your phones, which is great. You're welcome to, if anyone's interested, you're welcome to join this room so you can participate in the chat box. Feel free to use the chat box to ask questions throughout the presentation or during the Q&A at the end. For those of you using the chat box, please adjust your chat settings so you're chatting to all panelists and attendees or to everyone, so we can make sure everyone is seeing the chats. You don't need to use the chat box, but it's a feature if you'd like to. Next, I'll give a quick overview of how this event will run. We'll first begin with introductions from the two classrooms who are joining us today. We'll begin with C.D. Hilton High School and then move on to Fairfax Academy. And then I'll turn the floor over to the NSLI students in Seoul, South Korea, who have prepared presentations for you all to share about their lives in Korea. You'll get to hear some of their Korean as well. And then we'll open up the floor to the question and answer session at the end, where you all can ask each other questions and we can have a discussion afterwards. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to C.D. Hilton.
You need to face the screen. Oh, no, don't.
안녕하세요. 저는 가비라고 합니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 가비라고 합니다. 저희 학교는 버지니아 우드브리지에 위치한 고등학교입니다. 학생 수가 2,400명 정도입니다. 저희 학교에서는 다양한 언어를 배울 수 있습니다. 예를 들면 러시아어, 아랍어, 스페인어, 프랑스어, 이탈리아, 독일어 등이 있습니다. 다양한 학생들이 좋은 선생님들과 열심히 공부하고 있습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. So now Fairfax Academy.
Hi, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'll pass the microphone to one of my students. There are two students are going to speak, and then there might be more. Just a minute. 일어나 봐. 쳐다보세요.
안녕하세요. 제 이름은 유상준이에요. 이곳은 한국어반이고 지금은 한국어 2 시간이에요. 우리 고등학교 이름은 Fairfax 하이스쿨이고 우리 학교에는 한 2,000명이 있어요. Fairfax 아카데미가 있어요. 우리 학교에는. 아카데미는 다른 학교에서 다양한 학생들이 와서 우리 수업을 들어요. 우리 수업은 아라빅도 있고 중국어도 있고 컴퓨터실도 있고 뭐 다양한 게 많이 있어요. 감사합니다.
Am I gonna fit in the camera? Okay. 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 드무진이에요. 드무진 초이질슨이에요. 15살이에요. Fairfax 고등학교 다녀요. 10학년이에요. 우리는 학교 끝나고 한국 문화 클럽을 해요. 사무놀이, 난타, 태권도, 우체춤, Kpop 무용도 해요. 연습 시간은 매주 목요일 3시부터 4시 15분까지 해요. 3월에 있는 International Festival 위해 준비해요. 감사합니다.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Great to meet you guys. And thank you once again for joining. Okay, well, without further ado, once again, I will turn it now over to the NSLI students for their presentations. Thank you. We can't hear you, Sura.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right, sorry about that. Okay.
Oh, we just lost you.
Okay, can you hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, good, like crystal clear?
Good.
Okay, so 안녕하세요. 저는 소라입니다. 미국 나이 18살이에요. 그리고 미국 칸자스에서 왔어요. 만나서 반갑습니다. So today I'll be representing the beginner advanced level for the NSLI-Y Academic Year program. And then Max will be the intermediate and Rebecca will be the advanced level. So next slide, please. So today we're going to be presenting about learning Korean. So here's just some pictures of us from our times here in Korea so far. So next slide, please. So today I'll be talking about studying abroad with programs like NSLI-Y. So here's a photo of our current group, our academic year group, when we first arrived here in Seoul at the airport about a month and a half ago. So next slide, please. So studying a language in an immersion program is extremely challenging, but very rewarding. For us, being in an environment where Korean's constantly spoken, we're using less English every day, and we're using our Korean speaking skills a lot more. And for us, we're not, since we don't have a lot of breaks between our learning process, unlike you guys where after your Korean class, you go to a different class where it's taught in English, and then at home, you speak more English. So you're not really able to maintain your Korean learning throughout the day. While for us, we don't have that many breaks because Korean, like we're surrounded by Korean. So just by like being very observant in our environment and looking everywhere, we're able to continue learning. So for example, today on my way back home from our Korean class, I take the subway, and just looking around on the subway train, I see different ads. I hear the announcer on the train saying like what stop it is. And just from that, I'm able to really recognize different words and grammar points. So it's really exciting when I'm able to know those different things and differentiate. So yeah, next slide, please. So here's just a few pictures. On the top left is when I met my host mom for the first time. On the bottom left is me and my fellow Neslians when we visited Chosun Palace, and we dressed up in traditional hanboks. On the top right, that's me and my host sisters at a international festival. The bottom right is me and my fellow peers at my Korean high school that I attend, which is Taewon Foreign Language High School. And then in the middle is me and some other Neslians that were the ones who attend Taewon. And Max is also another one of the students that attend Taewon. So that was us, I believe, on our second day of school. So next slide, please. So like I mentioned, being on this type of a program, we're able to immediately apply what we learned every day to any type of situation. So for me, coming home from either my Korean high school or my Korean class, I'm able to use what I just learned with my host family, being able to use all the the grammar points, the vocabulary to just talk about my day and ask them how their day was, and really engage in conversation. As well as when I'm at my Korean high school, I like to use my Korean a lot to practice, and they love, my classmates love to help me and help correct my Korean. And I've also added to the classes Kakao group chat. If you guys don't know what Kakao is, it's a very popular messaging app here in Korea. And on this app, I'm able to really see a different type of Korean because it's very informal and there's a lot of slang. So even though I might not understand everything, I'm able to learn a completely different type of Korean that I wouldn't in the classroom. So being able to be in this environment, I'm really able to build lifelong friendships and relationships with my fellow classmates, with my host family, just by being able to speak the same language. And to me, that's very rewarding and very satisfying. So next slide, please. So the bottom left picture is, again, me and my fellow Neslians who attend Taewon when we first went and got our kyoboks for school, and we had our school orientation. The picture in the middle are me and fellow Neslians again at Hangang, which is the Han River. And that was a really fun day. And then the picture on the right is me and my host family at a goguma farm, which is a sweet potato farm. And that was a lot of fun, and it was about an hour out of Seoul. And it was really nice to be out and experience the Korean countryside. Next slide, please. So a program like NSLI is really beneficial. And for me, I know I'm personally bilingual. I'm fluent in both Arabic and English, and I lived in Jordan for about 4.5 years. And so I know from experience, just living that 1 year, at the end of the first year in Jordan, I noticed my Arabic skills were a lot better than they were in the beginning. And I had a much deeper understanding of the culture as well. So a program like NSLI really helps with stuff like that, because you're in an environment where you're constantly surrounded by Korean, and it helps to encourage you to want to use it all the time. I definitely suggest you guys apply if you're eligible. If you're not really up for the year program, they also have a summer option. I'm also a 2016 Seoul summer alumni. And I know just from that 6-week experience, I gained a lot. So yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna hand it next to my peer, Rebecca.
그래서 이 학생은 코리안 레벨 1이래. 그렇지? 다음 학생은 코리안 레벨 2래. 그런데 우리가 이제 한국말로 해.
Can you hear me?
할 때는 영어로 하고.
Yes.
All right. So I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Rebecca, and my Korean name is Lahi, and I'll be leading the next part of this presentation. I'll be doing most of this presentation in Korean, but the slides are in English. And if you have any questions or want to clarify anything, feel free to let me know during the Q&A time. So, 네, 안녕하세요. 저는 4년 동안 한국어를 공부한 라희라고 합니다. 저는 오늘 Creating Opportunities and Finding Your Niche, 기회를 만드는 것과 촉성에 맞는 자리를 찾는 것에 대한 내용으로 발표하도록 하겠습니다. Next slide, please. 네, 우선 기회를 만든 것에 대해 말해보겠습니다. 한국어를 배우는 것에 대해 말할 때 기회를 만드는 것은 왜 중요할까요? 언어 실력을 키우고 싶으면 언어 수업을 적극적으로 듣는 것은 좋기는 좋지만 수업만에서 노력하면 충분하지 않다고 생각합니다. 한국어 수업을 다니지 않아도 어느 환경에서나 한국어 배우는 것을 최대한 활용하도록 노력해야 해요. 한국어 수업은 없을 때도 언제나 한국어를 공부할 수 있게 자신에게 꼭 맞는 방법을 찾아야 해요. Practice makes perfect 이라는 표현을 들어본 적 있죠? 계속 연습하면 완벽하게 할 수 있다는 이라는 뜻이에요. 그래서 어디나 기회를 만들 수 있으면 그 기회로 연습하면서 한국어 실력을 점점 좋아질 것이다. 이것 때문에 기회를 만드는 것은 정말 중요하다고 생각해요. 그래서 이런 기회를 어떻게 만들 수 있을까요? 첫째, 무서움을 알아보고 초조하는 것이에요. 저 개인적으로 this part I'll do in English. So I think recognizing and containing fear is a very, really important message and a very important method for learning any language, especially Korean. Because even when I first started, I was definitely really afraid to talk with anybody who was a native speaker, and that really impacted me in my learning, especially in the beginning, because I was afraid, was I going to make a mistake? Would they laugh at me? And all the kind of thoughts people have when they first start learning a language. But it's really important that you recognize and contain that fear, because language, in the end, what it can be all about is talking with other people. And so once you recognize and contain any fear you have about using a language, that means you can, get to the next hurdle and start speaking with more and more people and improving more and more and more. So I just think that's really important. I want to emphasize that. 둘째, 한국어를 사용할 수 있는 환경을 찾는 것이에요. 그래서 저도 개인적으로 아르바이트나 다른 일을 찾으면서 그곳에서 한국어를 사용할 수 있다는 경험 좀 있었어요. 그래서 영어도 할게요. I think finding new environments where you can use Korean is also really cool. So I actually also worked a part-time job at a sushi place whose owner was Korean, and she only spoke to me in Korean. So I think if you ever have those kind of opportunities where you can find new environments to talk with people in Korean, that's also a very good thing as well. And I also want to put in a little plug for Concordia Language Villages, because that's actually where I learned a lot of the Korean I did, because I did not have a class at my school. And Concordia Language Villages are a series of immersion programs during the summer. And if you're not into going out of the country, like NSLI, it's actually like an in-country option. It's placed in Minnesota, and you can learn. There's 15 different camps they have for complete immersion for the summer. There's scholarships for it, and I will actually be a staff there next summer. So hopefully see any of y'all there. 셋째, 방법으로 인터넷이죠. 인터넷은 나중에 맥스가 좀 더 깊게 말할 거니까 이 부분에서 좀 끝낼게요. So next slide, please. 네, 그 다음 촉성에 맞는 자리를 찾는 곳으로 넘어가겠습니다. 촉성에 맞는 자리를 찾는 것과 한국어를 배우는 것은 어떤 관계가 있을까요? 먼저 촉성에 맞는 자리를 찾을 수 있으면 한국어를 공부하는 것에 유익해요. 그래서 예를 들어서 어떤 like-minded learners, 첫째 like-minded learners, 왜냐면 그 한국어를 같이 배울 수 있는 사람, 그런 사람을 찾을 수 있으면 정말 한국어 배우기 위해서 도와줄 수 있고 정말 좋은 경험이라고 생각해요. So finding like-minded learners, a support system, people with similar interests can lead to new friends in the field. So I've made a lot of my friends, like especially people in the program here, I've already become very close with. People in the past who are learning Korean, you can become very close friends with them because it's kind of a niche, you know. There's not many people who study Korean compared to maybe Spanish or French. And again, it's just a very different language, which I'll keep talking about here. So 한국어는 왜 특별할까요? 특히 한국어 왜 좀 특성이라고 물어보면 그 학교에서 특히 미국 학교에서 전통적으로 가르쳤던 언어 아니죠. 원래 스페인어나 프랑스어 그런 언어를 많이 가르치는데 한국어는 I believe Korean is taught less than point. The statistic is that less than 0.14% of people who take a language take Korean. So it's a very small number, and it's slowly gaining popularity through several factors, whether it be K-pop, K-drama, kimchi, all of the above. But it's still not as popular as Chinese, Spanish. So it's very particular in that all the people who are learning it, it's kind of a small field, but it's a close field, and you can make a lot of cool friends, make a lot of cool connections, and I just think it's a very cool language for you all to be learning, and I've enjoyed learning it too. So 이상으로 발표를 마치도록 하겠습니다. Thank you very much. Next slide, please.
한 명 더 있어요. 잘 들으세요. 야, 특별하다가 뭐야? 스페셜. 특성이 뭐야? 캐릭터 얘기하는 거야. 유니크 캐릭터. 전통적은 뭐야? 전통적 트래디셔널. 네. 오케이.
안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 맥스라고 합니다. 저는 노스캐롤라이나에서 왔어요. 그리고 17살입니다. Hi, everyone. My name is Max. I'm from North Carolina. I'm 17, and I'm in the intermediate class here in Seoul. Next slide, please. 그래서 먼저 왜 한국어를 공부하고 싶었어요? Next slide, please. 네, 중학교 때 그냥 유튜브 동영상을 보면서 뮤직비디오 봤고 한국어를 정말 궁금했어요. So in middle school, I started getting interested in Korean dramas, K-pop, as well as food and the history. And as I kept on learning and studying the language and culture, I got more and more interested, as I'm sure all of you have. Next slide, please. 그래서 나의 한국 생활, my Korean lifestyle. Next slide, please. 한국 생활과 미국 생활은 어떻게 달라요? 예를 들어 존댓말, 학교 생활, 한국 음식, 교통하고 사적지하고 구경할 수 있는 것을 다 정말 달라요. In Korea, the first point I'm going to go off of is the 존댓말. So that you talk to and address people who are older than you is a lot different and more straightforward in Korea, as in like your language patterns, the 음니다 ending, and is very different from in English. As for school lifestyle, the students here study a bunch. So they're at school all day, they study after school, and they also have hagwon, which is kind of like tutoring outside of school. And so finding time to spend with your Korean classmates is a lot different from how it is in America. Lastly on this slide, I'll touch on the 사적지하고 구경하기. So Seoul is a giant city, and there's tons of history and things that you can see here. 그래서 내가 제일 좋아하는 곳을 경복궁, 전쟁기념관, 그리고 한강. And all of these are just a few places that if you come to Korea, I do recommend you come and see. Next slide. So here we have a few pictures from the first month and a half that I've spent here in Korea. In the top left is Gyeongbokgung Palace. It's really beautiful, and you can kind of see into the history of Korea. The top right is Sports Day with my Korean classmates, as well as one of my fellow NSLIans here. In the middle is the traditional Korean dyeing called Cheonyeomyeomsek, the bottom right is also Gyeongbokgung. That's when we were at Hanbok. And in the bottom left is Han River, which is a great place to picnic. And that's actually what we're doing here in this picture at Han River. Next slide, please. So as for language learning, I'm going to touch on using the internet and Korean media as language learning resources. I never had any formal classes, so the internet really was the main tool that I used to learn the language. Next slide, please. I would say one of the most important resources for me was Korean TV, because it gives you an opportunity to practice listening to Korean, how it's used in different scenes and contexts, and also listening and repeating and imitating the accent is really helpful in sounding like a native. Subtitles are also super helpful both in Korean or English. Just seeing and hearing at the same time the Korean that you're learning is super helpful. Talk to Me in Korean as well as YouTube are both super great resources for finding lessons online. Talk to Me in Korean is super popular. I'm sure once you know about it. And you can find podcasts there about all types of Korean culture, as well as Korean anywhere from beginning to advanced. On YouTube, of course, you can find a bunch of videos uploaded by Korean creators or foreigners living in Korea, and that kind of gives you different perspectives into Korean culture. And lastly, I would just like to say speaking is kind of difficult to practice on your own, just because through the internet, there's not much that you can do. So you kind of have to supplement it with speaking in a Korean environment. Next slide, please. So these are a bunch of the websites and apps that I used. In the top left, we have Lane 8, which is one where you're able to post diary entries in your target language and have them corrected by native speakers. And I talked about Talk to Me Korean, YouTube. Viki is one that you can use for watching Korean dramas. That honestly was super helpful when I was learning Korean. And in the bottom right is Naver, which is kind of like Korea's Google. You can find a whole bunch of different articles and search up anything that you're interested in and practice reading it. Next slide, please. So the last thing I'm going to talk about here are the general tips for success on an immersion program. Next slide. So most importantly here is understanding that improvement is gradual and that you're going to make mistakes. You honestly can't hold back in your language learning, and just knowing that struggling is like, it's a big part of language learning, and knowing that you're going to make mistakes and using them as language opportunities is really important, which kind of brings me to the next point, not to be shy. If you're too afraid to use your Korean, it will definitely hold you back. The learning process is one where you're going to learn and then you're going to make mistakes and you're going to grow from those. So being shy will definitely hold you back if you while learning Korean. And lastly, I just want to say, don't give up. So of course, there's going to be lots of ups and downs, but in the end, if you keep at it, you'll definitely make a lot of progress. And I definitely recommend the NSLI program, as honestly, this has been one of the best ways to practice my Korean and learn, seeing as I'm surrounded by the language 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sura, Rebecca, and Max, for your presentations. I learned a lot, and I'm excited to hear the questions that you all have for them. I just wanted to share 2 links in case you'd like to learn more about the NSLI program. The first is the main NSLI website, where you can learn more about the programs offered and access the application. And the second link is the NSLI Interactive website, which features stories from current students and alumni about their experiences on program. So I encourage you guys to check out those sites if you'd like to learn more. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can all see each other's faces. And thus concludes the presentation portion of this event. And now we'll open it up to the Q&A. I'll begin, we'll give each school 5 minutes to ask questions, and we'll switch back and forth until the end of the event. So let's begin once again with C.D. Hilton High School. If you guys would like to take 5 minutes to ask your questions for the NSLI students.
need to speak loud. Say hi. Speak loud.
안녕하세요. 저는 메지입니다. I have several questions, but my main one is, what's the main difference between American high school and Korean high school?
I think I'll try and answer this one. Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Because both us three, we go to two different high schools. They go to the foreign language high school, and I go to 서울 영상고등학교, which is translated means Seoul Media High School. And I think the main differences in general would be, I think, amount of time devoted to school. So people at my school, and I'm sure at Taiwan as well, they spend, up to half more of their days there because they have class, the same amount of time, roughly maybe an hour longer than I think most American schools. And then after that, a lot of the kids, they go to hagwon, so the after school study stuff. So not a lot of kids do stuff like after school jobs or after school sports as much. I think it's mostly a lot of studying because there's a lot of stress put on this test called the Sunung, which is roughly, you could say, is like the Korean SAT. But most kids, if they want to go to college, it's based entirely on how they do on this one test at the end of their senior year. So there's a lot of stress put on towards this one test and on towards succeeding in that area. And it's mainly I think in terms of just study time and what they're studying for. But in terms of, being a kid and being a high school student, they're all great kids. They're all the same. They joke around like just in American high schools, and it's not as different as you think, in my opinion.
I'm just going to add on that a little bit. One big thing you'll notice when you attend a Korean high school is that they don't shift from class to class. They just stay in one homeroom class. So the same 26 students that I'm with are the ones I'm with for the entire day. The teachers are the ones that come after each class period is over, and we never move, but we have 10-minute breaks in between each period. So it's like a major difference, while in the US, we obviously go from different classes and we have like a passing period. So yeah, I just wanted to include that.
안녕하세요. So I was wondering what it's like living with the host family in Korea.
So I guess I'll answer this question. Living with the host family is something I was really nervous about, just because being with a whole bunch of a different family and having a different routine is really daunting. But honestly, host mom is one of the people that I talk to the most. She loves to joke around and just talk a bunch. So over dinner, I'm able to practice so much Korean with her. And I feel really at home with my host family. So I think it's a really great experience.
안녕하세요. 저는 Raven입니다. So my question is, what are some good activities to do or places to visit while you're in Seoul?
Okay, there's a lot of places to visit. Earlier in my presentation, I had a picture of our nursery group at Hangang, which is the Han River. This is kind of like a very fun, outdoorsy type of event. So people go to the Hangang, and when you exit the subway station, you'll have all these like ajumas waiting, and they'll hand you all these like chicken flyers. Because in Korea, with these flyers, you're able to order chicken, and they deliver it on like little, what are they called? Like motorbikes? Bicycles? No. Motorcycles. And so you don't have to move or go anywhere. And so all these ajumas just hand it to you, and there the view is really beautiful. You're able to take boat rides. You can rent bikes and just bike along the river. It's a really nice environment. It kind of takes you away from like the city life if you've had too much of it. But when it goes to like, if you want to experience city life in Seoul, I definitely recommend Hongdae. Hongdae is a really popular area. It's very hip and very young. That's where we have our Korean classes actually. So we're there 3 times a week. So like there, just walking around the streets is really fun. There's a lot of shopping, a lot of buskers at night, people performing, lots of different restaurants you can go eat at. We love to go to noraebang there as well, like a karaoke. So that's definitely a great area. There's also Myeongdong, which is really known for like shopping, and you'll find a lot of tourists there. There's just a lot of like beauty and makeup stores, and just lots of things like that. Oh, and they have a lot of street food as well. So that's really neat. Oh, also another place I really like is the DDP Dongdaemun. It's like this really interesting architectural building. It looks like a, how would you even describe this? I don't want to say it looks like a blob, but it's just really interesting. If you just Google DDP, it's really cool looking. And at night they have these white roses that light up. So it's a really nice place to take photos and just look around. And actually inside of it, you can go shopping and there's restaurants. So that's also a really fun area to go to.
Thank you so much. I'd like to switch to Fairfax Academy now and give you guys a chance to ask questions, and then we'll just keep switching back and forth. Yeah, so Fairfax Academy.
Okay. 좋습니다.
Just a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Their rule is speak only Korean, so they are shy. Let's see how they do. They can text in English, but their rule is speaking Korean.
안녕하세요. 저는 엔젤리나입니다. 팔레스에 뭐가 있어요? 너무 예쁘게 하고 재미있게 생겼어요.
경복 Palace. What is
경복궁?
the 경복 Palace?
경복궁, I'll just answer in English, but it's basically, I believe, I'm not sure how correct all my information will be, but it's basically a very beautiful cultural heritage site in Korea, which is a palace that it's very beautiful. It has several different aspects to it. It'll have like, there's like several like different lakes and like different architectural monuments and some really cool historical facts associated with them. So, you know, it'll be like back in the, I believe Chosun dynasty, and because the last dynasty in Korea, and it was used for royal affairs then and such, and it's really pretty to go today still because it's very well kept up architecturally, and a lot of people, both Koreans and foreigners, go there. They get dressed in hanbok, traditional Korean costume, and they go around and take pictures. And there's also, I think, events that go around there as well that have to do with traditional Korean culture and traditional affairs in the Joseon dynasty. So it was very beautiful and very, very cool experience in my opinion.
들을 수 있습니까? Can you hear me? 네. 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 김유찬입니다. 그래서 한국에서 있는 PC방을 가봤습니까?
Okay, I'll answer this one. I haven't been to a PC Bong on this trip with Nestle, but I did go to one last summer. And it's pretty much what you'd expect it to be. So it was actually really cheap. I believe I paid only either 1,000 won or 2,000 won, which is like less than $1.30 for like 2 hours to use like this very big, huge screen desktop computer. And they have like a little shack or kiosk in there where they sell like ramen and like chocolate and drinks and stuff. And all the little the Korean schoolboys after school's over, they all like run to the PC Bong and they all log into like, I think the most popular game is like Overwatch or something, or League of Legends, and they just like play it like nonstop, and it's like they're all just focused on it the entire time, and they're like screaming at each other and playing against each other and stuff. So for me, I just went there to use the computer because I didn't bring my laptop on the summer program. And you can go to PC Bongs to just use it for whatever, like just a computer. But most of the people in there are Korean high school boys playing League of Legends or Overwatch. So, yeah.
Can you hear me? 안녕하세요. 제 이름 이상준이에요. 한국 음식은 미국 음식보다 훨씬 더 맛있어요?
Korean food is definitely really good. Whenever we go out as a group, we actually went after our first Korean test to get samgyeopsal, which is like, it's a cut of the pig. I'm not exactly sure, but it kind of tastes like bacon, but it's much bigger. It's super good, and it always comes with a bunch of banchan. And so not only do you have what you order, but you always get a bunch of vegetables and different things to eat with it as well.
I'd like to add, I don't know if one food is better than the other, one cuisine is better than the other, but I will say I think Korean food in general is probably more healthier than what we usually consume here in the US.
Something I'll add is also, not only is it healthier, but also the portion sizes are a lot smaller. So like for dinner today, before this event, I had a very small bowl of rice with a small bowl of like some type of guk, which is soup. And then we have all our panchan in front of us and some type of meat. So it's definitely a lot smaller than American portion sizes, especially when you go out as well. And that's something to take into consideration when you're coming here. So.
Thank you. I'd like to switch now back to CD Hilton for your questions for the next few minutes.
안녕하세요. 제 이름은 라켈입니다. My question is, what is the most celebrated holiday in Korea?
Can you hear her?
Yes.
Okay. What is the most celebrated holiday in Korea?
I guess I'll answer because we're all like playing chicken, like who's gonna answer? But the most celebrated holiday is Chuseok. Chuseok is, if you explain it very roughly, it's Korean. You'd call it Korean Thanksgiving in terms of American holidays, but it's a harvest festival. It just happened about a week or two ago. It's by the lunar calendar as well, and basically during this time, Korean families, they get together and they, I guess the term could be, one of the things they do is venerate their ancestors, I guess you could say. And it also depends on the tradition of the family. So I know all of us actually experienced Chuseok with Sura because I had to stay with her family because my family didn't have space because they went down to the country. So each family, like depending on whether they're Buddhist or Christian, they all do different kinds of things to either honor their ancestors or they'll just get together with their own families and eat a lot of food and just have a good time together, play games, stuff like that. And there's much more deep history to Chuseok as well. If you're interested, I highly recommend you look it up and learn about it if you want. It's a really cool holiday. Hope you all get to experience it someday if you haven't. Yeah.
Okay, cool. First, apologies about the apparel. I'm singing at a choir concert later. Ignore this. So I was just wondering, in America, the news media focuses a lot really just on America and not much else. I was just sort of wondering what it's like in Korea, what the news sort of focuses on. Is it national or international? Cool, thank you.
Do either of y'all want to answer, or should I go for it? Okay. I really enjoy news, and it's hard for me to understand Korean news, but you can kind of get the picture, through pictures. I would definitely say it is more concerned about itself, but they do take what's happening to other countries and like what effect will it have on them. So if they're talking about our political situation or our political relationship with North Korea, they'll talk a lot about how it will affect South Korea as well. And actually, another interesting thing you can say about politics and news in Korea is it's very active politically, both in terms of political supporters or protesters, because if you go to certain parts of the city, you can see protests happening every day because of one issue or another. But news channels and news media in general is definitely very focused within. But if they do talk about another country, again, it'll usually be either very big news that occurred, like when sadly what occurred in Las Vegas a few weeks ago happened. It did appear in news here, and it did appear on in those kind of media outlets, but it's definitely more detached than we would feel here because it's a different country.
Can we get one more question?
Yes.
Okay.
안녕하세요, 샤른입니다. So what do students in Korea do to make up for all the stress that they have that probably comes from tests and studying?
So at least for my class, the Noraebang and PC Bong are really popular for whenever they're under a lot of stress. We went to Noraebang at the beginning of the Chuseok holiday, and there everyone's just belting out in all types of Korean songs, and I guess that kind of just lets them get rid of the stress that they get from school.
I'll also add on to the fact that there's a lot of clubs at our high school, and a lot of the students in my class are at least in like 3 to 4 clubs, and they really enjoy that because it gives them a break from having to study, and they're able, like for instance, my seatmate, she's in the cheerleading club, but it's actually like a dancing club. And so she really loves talking about it and practicing for it and things like that. And just things, and they also get to have a lot of customized like sweatshirts and hoodies and stuff. So things like that just really make them happy. And not having to worry about class or homework or anything. As well as our Korean high schools have something called Sports Day, and for Taewon, we had ours, I think about 2 weeks ago. And this is something all the students love. They're able to participate in all these different types of sport activities, even though some of them might not be as athletic because they don't stress sports a lot here like they do in the US. We don't have school teams. So for them, that's like a really fun day, and a lot of them really enjoy practicing for it. So yeah.
Thank you. These are great questions. Okay, Fairfax Academy, back to you.
안녕하세요. 제 이름은 맥이에요. NSLIY 신청했을 때 잘하고 됐어요.
I didn't hear the entire question, but I heard about applications for NSLI, how that went. So I guess I'll share my story because it's not, I don't want to say it's the saddest out of the three of us, but I actually applied to NSLI 3 times. I was rejected the first 2 times. I applied for summer when I was a freshman and I was a sophomore, and I was rejected. I did not get the semifinalists, but in retrospect, it's really all about growth. And for me, those times where I was so like upset, like, oh no, why didn't I get in? It was about, you know, maturity and about learning like who you are, why you're learning a language, what you're doing with your life, and how you're going to use it. And for me, those summers became really crucial to finding out, you know, what I was interested in, which I'll just like Korea socioeconomics, those kind of things. And because of that, I was able, I think, to succeed in when I applied the 3rd time when I was a senior, like, oh, 3rd time's a charm, I guess. Try for a gap year. And honestly, if any of y'all are interested in applying, really just give it your honesty, give it your sincerity, why you're learning Korean, what you want to do with Korean, and I think that'll help a lot if y'all are interested.
인터뷰는 어떻게 했어요?
신청은 어떻게 했냐고? 죄송해요. You can go online to NSLI, and there's a thing on their website that will be like, hey, apply for NSLI, and you click it, and it'll lead you through.
Talking about the interview process.
인터뷰도?
Yeah, second interview process.
죄송해요. 잘 안 들었어요. Does somebody else want to answer about the interviews?
I was going to also mention that another method to really help you with your application is to read a lot of blogs. For me, I think I read every NSLI blog out there when I was applying both times to both the summer and the year program, and that helped a lot. And with the interview, it's, how do I describe this? Well, with the interview, you really need to basically know what you put in your application, because they're obviously going to ask you about that, and you just like show the part of you that you're not able to show in the interview, and just really be yourself. It's a very casual interview. Don't think of it as like an Ivy League college interview that you're doing, or a professional job, or anything like that. It's very casual. The interviewers are all really lovely, and they're not there to like make you mess up. They want you to succeed. So I think just really be yourself and show that part of you that you wouldn't be able to on the application or in your essays, and that really helps you a lot. So.
Can you hear me? 네. 한국 북한 DMZ 라인에 가봤습니까? 아니면 가볼 겁니까?
So we haven't actually been to the DMZ yet, but I do believe on the NSLI program we plan to go up to the border, and we're able to see onto the other side of North Korea. I'm not sure if we're actually allowed to go into, you know, those blue rooms. We're able to like kind of be on both sides of the border, but I'm definitely sure that we learn a bunch about it, and we're at least able to see it.
Okay, I think also we get to go into like a tunnel as well, where there's like a small window that you look into it, and you also see North Korea. So.
안녕하세요. 제 이름은 나나입니다. K-pop 좋아해요? 누구를 제일 좋아해요?
I'll just go. For me, K-pop is kind of how another thing that really got me into the Korean language. The first thing was K-dramas, but then I discovered like SNSD and Super Junior like a long time ago, and that's kind of how I got into it. Right now, I wouldn't say I'm really like a big K-pop person. The only really group I like their music is BTS. But other than that, I like a lot of like R&B singers like Crush, Zion T, and Dean, and rappers like Zico and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you. So we have a few minutes left. Maybe we'll give, I'll give each classroom the chance to ask one more question of the NSLI students. So back to you, CD Hilton. One or two more questions.
I was just wondering, like, what classes or like what do you learn other than Korean while you're at school?
And also, how many classes do you take every day in school?
So for our Korean high school, for me and Max specifically, we go to Taewon Waeguk Godenhakyo, which is a foreign language school, and there we're able to major in one of the 5 languages they offer. So I chose, I'm a German major and Max is a Spanish major. So for my class, we have both just reading and writing German classes, and then we have an actual native German speaker where she gives us a German speaking class. So that's specific to our high school. Besides that, it's your pretty basic like biology, math, Korean. We have music and art. And every day, the amount of classes we have is different. So like, for instance, tomorrow's Wednesday for us. My class only has 4 classes, while like Fridays we have 7 classes. So just, it's different every day.
For my school, since it's a little different, I'll talk about it briefly. We also, for our program, we actually we leave early on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays to go to Korean class, so we only experience half of the day. And so on those days, I have 4 classes in the morning, and I go to the media school, and I was put in the major of film contents. So we'll have like film contents and film editing class, but then we'll also have Korean geography. We also have Chinese, English, lots of different English classes. We don't have any science classes actually in our year, and we don't have any in our year, and we also have stuff like literature, but it just depends on when you're there as a foreign exchange student, like what classes you get to take and whether you're expected to participate, depending on both your Korean level and the teacher and just the content of the class.
Thank you. Okay, Fairfax Academy. Any last questions for the NSLI students?
한국에서 고등학교 다닌 다음 대학교 가면 대학교에서 졸업한 다음 한국에서 직업 찾고 싶어요?
I don't know yet because we're still very young. For us personally, after I go to college, I definitely I'm planning on majoring on East Asian studies and specifically Korean studies. So hopefully I may end up working in Korea at some point in my life, but I have no idea whether how long I'll end up there or if I'll end up living there for work. But personally for me, I don't want to work exclusively in Korea.
As for me, after graduating high school, I definitely want to study international relations in college and kind of work in the diplomacy field and working with both America and Korea, as well as other countries and kind of foreign relations.
Sora, we can't hear you. If you're...
Sorry, I haven't. Okay.
There you go.
안녕하세요. 제 이름이 레베카입니다. 한국에서 영어 공부도 해요?
Whether we don't, I mean, we study English just in terms of our classes at high school that have English. So I had like a 100-word vocab test in English but it was like English Korean, so I had to learn like the Korean words for the English. I participated in that. But as far as like other people studying English, like a lot of people, like I think everybody studies English in high school for the SAT equivalent, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, well, we're at the end of the hour, so I think I have to end the Q&A now. But thank you everyone for joining us this morning or this evening in Korea. The questions you all asked today were just fantastic, so thank you so much. And thank you to our NSLI student presenters for taking the time to share about your lives in Korea and for sharing about the NSLI program. We encourage you to check out the websites if you want to learn more. And yeah, thank you everyone. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
감사합니다. Thank you very much.